at Marina Bay. And it has a lot of traction involved and a lot of tight 90-degree corners, but it's more difficult than Baku because not only does it have tight 90-degree corners, it also has winding, twisting corners at the same time. On this track, you would think that because of it's such a low, it's a high downforce track because of all the corners and because it has very short straight, it's going to be a high downforce. So that should play into the hands of McLaren. But the problem is that it looks like Red Bull has made improvements in their stability, their rear stability, and their balance. And this track is a lot like Baku, which involves a lot of traction and heavy braking. And it looks like Red Bull can handle that. But Red Bull won't be able to put in the same low downforce and high straight line speed that they put. So when the downforce, with the higher downforce, I think you should still see them doing okay with stability and everything, but they're just not as stable as McLaren, and they won't have that straight line speed advantage because Singapore track has very short straights. So in other words, Red Bull is no longer, well, let's cross our fingers. It doesn't look like balance and rear stability and traction are a problem for them, but they don't have the type of traction and balance and especially rear stability. They don't have the type of rear stability that McLaren has, unless McLaren is beginning to lose some of that. So I would say that the McLaren car is faster than Red Bull, but Red Bull has greatly improved so that what we're now seeing now is going to be a race in which on high-speed tracks, Red Bull should be winning, and on very low-speed tracks like this, which is very low street circuit, like Monaco slow, you should start seeing McLaren have the advantage. But I believe Verstappen will be right behind them. Mercedes car is also made for these types of tracks which have a lot of stopping and going and traction and everything, but they may not have the pace to keep up with McLaren and Red Bull. Ferrari, this is not a track for them. With all their suspension problems and everything and the track being bumpy, look for them to struggle, and I see them coming as a team, coming fourth behind Ferrari. So a Ferrari car will be faster. I mean, not Ferrari. Mercedes will be faster. Red Bull will be faster, and then apparently, as form goes for slow tracks, low-speed tracks, it should be McLaren in front. Let's start off with that. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Yeah, I think McLaren are going to dominate this race. This kind of track is perfect for McLaren, and it's similar to the Monaco track. It's a street circuit, it's a slow circuit, and it's the kind of circuit that McLaren likes, and lots of turns. Yes, as you said, Ferrari is not going to like this track, because it's a slow track. It doesn't show up any of Ferrari's few advantages that it has, and I think that they will struggle. I think Ferrari's biggest problem right now is Mercedes. The Mercedes is in danger of being overhauled by who are they? They're just ahead of someone by not enough points.
Who?
The constructors. I think
McLaren is leading. Ferrari's coming second. Red Bull third, I think. Mercedes fourth, and
Red Bull is poised to overtake. It's either Red Bull or
Red Bull is poised to overtake Ferrari, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, one of them is poised to overtake Ferrari, and that's a big problem for Ferrari, because I think the wheels are going to fall apart for Ferrari at this stage of the competition. I think that they've not managed to get it together. Mercedes, I don't know. I mean, they like slow tracks, but they don't like hot weather. I don't know whether that's not going to be such an issue now, because it's going to be hot and humid. And I don't think the Germans like that kind of weather as a German car. So that's going to be a difficult one for them. I predict that McLaren will dominate. And I think that there's going to be a bit of a scrap between Russell and Verstappen, between second and fourth. I think McLaren is going to win, and one of them is going to mess up. I suspect that the car that's going to mess up is going to be Norris. I think he's going to make some kind of mistake, and he's going to drop behind Piastri. And he's going to get caught in a fight with Russell and Verstappen. Yeah.
So they're saying that, we know that Piastri struggled a little bit last week. I think Piastri does better on tracks that don't have these 90-degree corners. He does well on high speed or low speed is not the point. He needs more bending corners rather than these edgy corners. But I think what he will do is, I think he's going to rebound after bottling it last week. I think that was an what do you call it, an aberration, and I think he has enough self awareness to be methodical throughout qualifying and take it slow and drive within his limits, but be able to also push it in Q3. Whereas Norris, who is more skilled on this type of track and likes street circuits, is going to do something dumb again. He's going to go all out in the early practices and is not going to master things. But even that is not going to master the track and is going to have problems because he's not methodical when it comes. He needs to take his time in free practice 1 and learn things. I think what's his name is going to slow it down big time this weekend, Piastri, to learn things in free practice. Don't have to prove anything to anybody. When it's time to start proving things to people, when you have that car, is Q2. So he's going to take his time and learn things, and it's going to make the difference in qualifying. Whereas I think Piastri is going to go fast, Norris is going to go fast all the time and not learn anything. Then when the heat comes on with Verstappen and Piastri and all these guys who've been very methodical, I believe he will crack. But that being said, I still say it's going to be very close between Norris and Piastri for qualifying, but I'm going to give the edge to Piastri. But we never want to underestimate Verstappen, and now not just Verstappen, that car and the improvement that they're making. So prohibitively, I'm going to say Piastri qualifying in first and winning the race, Norris in second, and then Verstappen in third. Verstappen might split them. Fourth, I'm going to say George Russell. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that Piastri is going to win. I think in second place, I just don't. It should be a McLaren 1-2, but I'm not sure. Verstappen, there are certain tracks that Verstappen drops off, and I'm trying to figure out the pattern to which ones he drops off and the ones he does well. And this is potentially the kind of track that he could drop off or get lost. It's also the kind of track that can dominate. I mean, it becomes so unpredictable now when it comes to how he's going to perform on these tracks. Then it comes to the Mercedes. I think the Mercedes are going to dominate the Ferraris. And I also feel like, who's this chap? Hadjar. I think Hadjar is going to try and get in the top 6. And he's gonna mess somebody up. I think so. I think he's going to do well again. But I expect Piastri to win this because I think that he's got the mental strength on the up, whereas Norris has got it on the down. Although psychologically, it's quite clear that the McLaren team are favoring Norris when a bit biased when it comes to decisions on the track. If Piastri can block those out and drive as fast as he can, get a good lap in, and start at the front, it's not a track that's easy to overtake. There's not a lot of overtaking. This kind of track will require yellow flags and all sorts of magic happenings for people to change positions. I think it's more about getting your laps out. I think that this kind of track, the qualifying, the qualifiers are so important because the opportunities to overtake. I hardly ever seen them overtake on this track, and there's quite narrow. It's quite easy to crash out on this track. It's very unfair. So you have to be accurate, and it's very grueling, and the heat and the humidity, even though it's at night, it's
that's going to help McLaren too because they have better tire deg. And the tire better weather.
Yeah, McLaren have the better setup when it comes to stability of the car. I don't really see the advantage that the Red Bull has on this track as greatly as McLaren against McLaren. Against the other cars, I do believe anything can happen. I'm interested to see whether Tsunoda is going to lift his game and drive a bit better than he has done, like he did in the last race. He came 6th. So he needs to try to maybe come 6th again or improve it, depending on where. Well, I don't know if he can improve it, but if he can still stay better than 8th, I think Tsunoda aims to get 8th. And if he does that and Verstappen gets in the top 3, I think that we're going to start looking at a situation where Red Bull are going to actually overhaul Ferrari in the constructors, and that would be very bad for Ferrari. Very embarrassing.
Very embarrassing. Yeah, I think Vasseur's job is on the line, and next year he might fall to Horner because Horner has been given $80 million to $100 million. We don't know by Red Bull to leave, and he's on garden leave but he comes back mid next year, and I have a feeling you might see him step up and take the place at Ferrari. But we'll talk about that later. Okay, so